The absolute monarchy in France was a system of governance in which the king held nearly unlimited power. This form of governance developed during the reigns of Henry IV, Louis XIII, and Louis XIV, when each monarch gradually strengthened royal authority. Henry IV was the founder of the Bourbon dynasty in France. His reign was crucial in transitioning the country from the chaos of religious wars to stability. After the religious wars, France was divided and devastated. Henry IV implemented many reforms that helped rebuild the country. In 1589, he issued the Edict of Nantes, which granted certain religious rights to the Huguenots, French Protestants, helping to end the religious wars. By doing so, he gained the support of Catholics and Protestants, strengthening his position as a ruler. Along with his finance minister, Maximilien de Bethune, Duke of Sully, he reorganized public finances and supported agriculture, industry, and trade. He also initiated the construction of roads and canals, which improved communication and the country's economy. Henry IV aimed to centralize power by limiting the aristocracy's influence and strengthening the royal administration's role. After Henry IV's death, his son Louis XIII ascended the throne. His reign was marked by the strong influence of Cardinal Richelieu, who became the de facto first minister of France and one of the most important architects of the absolute monarchy. Richelieu aimed to centralize royal power. He limited the aristocracy's power by dismantling their independent fortifications and eliminating their private armies. He also introduced the system of intendants, royal officials who oversaw the provinces on behalf of the king. Intendants became an important tool in centralized administration and enforcement of the royal will. After Louis XIII's death, his 5-year-old son Louis XIV took over the throne. During his youth, the first minister, Julius Mazarin, held actual power. After Mazarin's death, Louis XIV began to rule independently. Louis XIV, known as the Sun King, is France's most famous symbol of absolute monarchy. His long reign is often considered the apex of absolutism. He sought absolute centralization of power, often repeating the famous phrase, "L'État, c'est moi," I am the state. He marginalized the influence of the nobility and aristocracy, forcing some to reside at Versailles, which aimed to control them and limit their influence. Versailles, built at his behest, became France's administrative and cultural center. Moving the court to Versailles was a symbolic and practical step towards centralizing power. Louis XIV patronized art, literature, music, and theater. His court was the cultural center of Europe. He supported artists, contributing to the flourishing of French culture. During this time, Jean-Baptiste Colbert was the finance minister. He introduced a policy of mercantilism aimed at increasing the state's wealth and power by controlling the economy and promoting exports at the expense of imports. He supported industry, trade, and colonialism. Colbert tried to balance the state budget by developing infrastructure and establishing manufactories. Louis XIV pursued an aggressive foreign policy, engaging in numerous wars to expand French territory. His military and expansionist actions often burdened the state treasury, leading to debts and poverty in the later years of his reign. During Louis XIV's reign, France's internal situation was complex. Although the country experienced cultural and administrative flourishing, wars and enormous expenses for maintaining the court and army led to increased taxes and burdens on the population. Peasant revolts and social unrest were caused by growing poverty and inequalities. In summary, the absolute monarchy in France developed gradually, starting with the stabilizing reign of Henry IV through the reforms of Louis XIII and Richelieu, and finally becoming a full absolute monarchy during the reign of Louis XIV. This process was supported by key figures such as Richelieu and Colbert, who, through their actions, strengthened royal authority while developing the country's economy, culture, and administration.
Thank you for being a part of our educational adventure. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos.